a few weeks ago, I was telling some colleagues about this panel shaping up, and he said, nobody gives a crap about this shit anymore. And this is one of the most influential voices in European snowboarding. And that sort of confirmed a feeling that I've been having for a long time, that this is when it matters most. When we think that it's all done, that we think it's settled, that we think we've equal, this is when it matters most to have these conversations. But this is not a conversation to complain or to compare. It's a conversation about business, snowboarding, culture, and future. So without further ado, please welcome our panelists here. We have Knut Eliassen, Marketing Director for Nitro Snowboards. Daniela Meyer from Burton Snowboards, the Territory Manager. Veroniqi Hanssen, the shiny new brand editor for Pleasure Magazine. Woohoo! Jeremy Sladen from the Snowboard Asylum. And rider and free white water champion Manuela Mandl. So please give them a warm welcome. I mean, if we're talking about women and women in snowboarding, I think it makes sense that we start with you, Daniela, representing Burton Snowboards, which has always been a brand that's put women center in everything that they've done. But also you personally have been advocating for women and female in the action sports industry for a very, very long time. So from the sales perspective, what do you see that's working and getting women that sell-through when it comes to the sales? Yeah.
Yes, I think it needs to be authentic and it needs to be rider-driven. We do a lot of products together with our female riders, and that gives some kind of trust. And it should be less marketing. It should be more like inviting environment. So I think that's the most important.
Do you have any specific campaigns or anything that you see that actually translate into sales and product sell-through when it comes to women customers?
Yes, definitely campaigns with our female riders. I think, but also the space in the stores is very important to have a POS, which is very inviting, which has this, the inspiration for them when they come into the store is very important. And I also believe that the staff on the floor has a lot of influence as well. I think they really they want really good input from the staff, and so they get the right product.
Yeah. I believe you have some stats about what's the share between female and male in the market.
Yes, we did some analysis 2 years ago, and we figured and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's like 70% is male riders out there and 30% is female riders. So that's a huge opportunity for us to invest in women and bring women to the sport. We need more female snowboarders.
And at Nitro, we have the same breakdown. Basically, of our sales numbers is roughly 70, 65 men and then 35 women. But it's been growing over the last 5 or 6 years quite substantially.
Yeah. And so what do you see that works for you when it comes to approaching that market?
For us at Nitro, what we've seen work actually this year is female-driven products that are made by the women and also has a story behind it. And it could be a high-end board, like we have a Haley Langman alternator. And in the U.S. this year, that was our first sold-out product out of all our products in the U.S. It was a Pro Moto female board. So there for sure is a big demand out there for women's products made by women. And us as brands have to continue doing a better job making women's products by women with women's stories.
That's an underline there, by women. But Jeremy, I believe you will have also some sort of input there from what they're saying. You know, Daniela was saying that it's really important how you present that product on the floor shop.
Absolutely. I think it's not just a case of having that women-specific product. It's a case of having women on the shop floor talking to consumers and selling that product is really important. We have like a very kind of, it's almost an even split now of like female to male shop floor staff. And it definitely helps to, I think, I don't want to say give it credibility, but to make it more kind of integrated and kind of more serious, as we're kind of like pretty much the theme of the discussion is, less of a sideline if you have like a complete women's package sold by women.
When you say you have pretty much split staff or between men and women.
In terms of quantity.
Yeah. But is the women more traditionally in the soft goods area and the men in the technical?
No. I'm
they're
specific
also
for hardware.
the technical.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Because you often see the guys giving you advice on the boards and stuff.
Yes.
But yeah.
No, and I think it's important to have that split. I think you sometimes get that resistance from males buying off females, but it's, tough shit, basically. If you don't like that, you've got to have that good even split of staff.
Yeah. And Veroniqi, I mean, it all comes down to what you see, right? What do you think, what role representation in media plays with all of this?
I think it's really important to be able to see people like you represented in media in order to drive more participation, because it's hard to believe that it's possible to do those things if you don't see yourself represented in that space. And I think that, that's really important for people to feel invited into that space as well.
And how is media inviting women right now?
I think that we have a little bit of an issue in media of the representation is very unequal. It is very small, the amount, and the amount that there is also centers usually around the same people. And I think that we have a really wide range of amazing female snowboarders, and I think it's really important that we also highlight them equally, and therefore show that there is different type of riders and more representation so that people can relate to it as well.
And I mean, ultimately, these all land on the rider, right? So from your experience and reflecting back in your career, what has really been support to you and what hasn't been? What's the useful support that you've had throughout your career from brands and media?
I mean, actually, I gotta say that things got a lot better over the last years, just also in my personal experience. And I mean, support is measured in visibility and also measured in opportunities, which equals to budgets, basically. And I feel that there is a huge problem still, that there is a lot of great female riders out there, but there is a small amount of female riders actually being in the bigger crews or being part of big crews. And there might be there are a bunch of female-only crews, but I feel that the normality of having mixed crews, which should be absolutely the standard right now, is not really existing yet. And I mean, we see that with sponsor monies as well. I mean, I only have the numbers of worldwide, where in general in sports only 7%, just 7% of sponsor money is going towards female athletes. I mean, that's including soccer and stuff as well, but still, and I think from a rider's perspective, opportunity is also tied to money,
Yeah. So we spot a problem, we spot a pattern, but if we reflect back into the last 3 to 5 years, I believe it's getting better, I hope. But what's working? What's really working? What's translating into sales? What's helping more women to get into the sport? Do you want to take it from your side?
Yeah, I mean, I'm speaking from a brand perspective, but I could also speak on my own personal overview of how I see it. And I think what's working for sure is that there are women snowboarding right now on the progression level is getting really, really good. And that is making it more visible on the contest side. So there's a lot more female riders out there who are younger, looking up to more heroes. Before, I would say 10 years ago, there was 2 or 3 heroes. And now in women's snowboarding, I think a lot of the girls out there have, 20 to 30 heroes to choose from all different types of video projects, rail riders, backcountry riders. And Natural Selection does a good job bringing in the females as well. So I think it's getting better. And this is definitely working for us at Nitro with attaching these female riders to products. And like I said, the number one product we sold this year out first was a female-driven pro model snowboard.
All right, I want to take your take, also yours and probably yours, Jeremy, about the unisex products and how that's come in, because you're talking about how it's successful to have women's products designed by women, but where does the unisex land in all of this?
For us, I would say during the COVID time, unisex or genderless products was a big thing that everyone was pushing. And I think that, personally, I think it kind of put women's products in the shadow a little bit, because a lot of the products became, oh, they're unisex, so now you can actually sell them. But I think there is a big demand for women-specific product made for women, by women, or guys, whatever, but that they're made for women. Unisex is good, but I do believe we shouldn't let unisex take over the focus on women's snowboarding and products.
What's the Burton take on the unisex
Yeah,
products?
it's quite similar. I believe in a soft goods area, it's not necessary, but we do have a small range, which is unisex. It's depending on the style. I mean, there are so many riders out there, female riders, they like it super baggy. So that was an easy choice to have a unisex collection, of course. But I believe, especially with the snowboards, it's necessary, kind of, because we have women-specific boards, but there are so many riders out there, female riders, which would also like to have a unisex board, like from the family tree collection, for example. We have now decided to make smaller sizes, so they can also choose from a selective free ride selection, kind of. And that works super well, actually. So the offering they have is way bigger than they had before. Yeah.
Yeah, you were mentioning that the cost, maybe that's probably one of the gaps. Like, if there's less demand for smaller sizes, then that product goes off. Can you explain on that?
Often in planning, it happens that if there is less demand or we sell less units a season, maybe this product gets dropped from the line, but it would actually work well. So like this, we decided, okay, let's move these things into the unisex range, and then we have enough units we can produce, and then
One big problem that we see with a lot of stores, and I know TSA does a good job with having a good range of women's products and stuff, but there's a lot of retailers that don't trust bringing in women's products. Like, they'll come into the store, you show them, and they're like, oh, that is a really sick women's jib board, but we probably can't sell it. So it's going to take a lot of energy from the retailer too to actually trust in bringing in these unique shapes for women, because it's an easy one not to pick, because it's in their minds a risky thing. But if it's not available, no one's ever going to buy it, and it will never snowball into more and more.
And then it gets dropped off the collection. Is that a legitimate fear from the shop's perspective to invest in stocking those women's specific products?
I think it is on certain boards, but kind of going back to unisex, personally I think it's a cop-out. And if you look who buys those shorter unisex boards, it's never women, it's just shorter, lighter guys. So it basically is just an easier way of kind of pretending that you've got like a bigger women's range when you really don't. So when it comes to stocking specific things, it's very difficult at a retailer level because you don't, and as we spoke about this earlier, there is no data or there is no patterns on stuff. So you're kind of, one year you'll sell a load of jib boards, and then the following year you won't sell any. So, like you said, it is easy to just go, I'll not do that, because it will kind of make sure I have too much stock. So it's a very easy board to kind of cross off. So yeah, it's understandable why you do that, but it is, like you say, unisex I feel is a cop-out. I'd rather kind of spend money and do a proper women's range than pretend I've got a women's range. So.
Yeah, we'll quote you on that one. So they were saying from the brand perspective that, having the athletes, these events, it really affects how the product goes out. But again, for you in the shops, do you feel the direct influence from pro athletes, the visibility on media, the event, and so on?
Not so much on specific product, but as on the perception of women in snowboarding, yes, it definitely does. What we see, it really has a dramatic effect on younger girls, and I think when you kind of look at the percentage of younger girls now getting into snowboarding compared to what it was, say, 5 years ago, it's massive. A lot of that kind of youth market is driven by young girls getting into snowboarding. I guess pretty much the same as skateboarding is. So for that, yes, it does. But then there is this bigger question of how do we kind of bring more mainstream women into it that don't follow snowboarding as a discipline, just want to do it for a pastime.
But I think for those things, there is like, I know what Robin van Ginde with the research and development, qualifying for natural selection, but also, the uninvited, series, things like that, I feel address a lot of women out there just because it produces beautiful media, but also relatable media in the sense of its up and coming riders, which do get their stage. And I feel that needs much more support on many different levels from like all the industry.
What are we missing?
I think, a lot more grassroots events, I feel. I think as soon as you, like from my perspective, I'm also a coach, and as soon as we are offering anything with a female coach leading anything, regardless if it's freestyle or freeride or touring, we have like 70%, normally up 80% women attending just because they feel safe in that space. And I think that's how you get women into the sport, like grassroots tryout things which are easily accessible. And we talked about the gatekeeping before. I totally agree. It's also cool if there's female shapers in a park where you can ask questions. It's super nice if there's, in a shop you just have like these ladies really selling you stuff and do have everything of technical knowledge you can ever expect from anyone having. And then you suddenly feel safe asking also. And then people get into the sport with fun and easiness without having to be tough, Yeah.
I mean, you also been filming and doing projects and now you're in the media space as well. But what do you think it's missing truly to support these women-led projects and transfer them into the media coverage as well?
I think that a main thing that we are really missing on the media side is a lack of submissions as well. Like we really, this year came in with like a commitment to wanting to represent more women in media and more women in our magazine. And it was actually quite challenging trying to get this media and this content and these stories because I don't know if there's also maybe been a barrier to being able to submit, but also for female photographers, maybe a lack of opportunity getting to shoot that content. And also for female writers, not getting opportunities to shoot with these photographers that know to submit to the magazines. So we end up like really having to chase down that type of content, and I think that's a shared responsibility of the whole snowboard community and the brands to also not just put one woman on a crew with like all of their men, but also create a more equal representation there so that we get the content that we can then print and tell those stories.
Yeah, so you don't get the tokenism of just the one. Do you think there's a lot of lack of transparency also in how these things work? Because sometimes, from the magazine I reach out, it's like, hey, please send content. But people they don't know. And I feel like for women specifically, like we've had to navigate a lot of these unknown territories and the people that we didn't know and kind of reaching out because we didn't know the systems or how it went or how do you get invited to that trip? How do you get invited?
I think this is a really difficult question because I think coming from a rider perspective, like really, really always with a passion for street riding and wanting to go on street trips, there is not that many women around you that you can just form a crew with or that get these opportunities, so they have to go and work their jobs and they can't go on these type of trips. And from brands, I think it's really important that they give those opportunities to those women, because I think that the more equal it gets and the more balanced it is, like the more it will also drive participation and women like wanting to go into snowboarding.
And also from a media perspective, I feel we have to very much work getting a bit away from the male gaze, have like more female media staff and like professional filmers and photographers who are female, because they automatically gonna pull more female writers in as well, just because they know them, because normally they do have a background in their sports as well. And so I think that there's a lot of potential still.
What's your take on having just female platforms rather than mixed platforms in general?
I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's cool. I think that creates like this center core vibe.
and that's going to help feed that more. Hopefully, more women see that they should start their own crew, and there is a community out there for them. I think I only see it as a positive because it is like filming and going out and shooting photos and stuff. It's way more complex than just like you and you and you are together. There's all these social like norms between each other. You have to be friends. You have to want to be with these people. And that takes time to build up these communities. And sometimes there is a group of people. There could be a group of girls in Innsbruck right now who are starting a film crew that we don't know about. Or maybe there isn't. But it takes time. It's a natural thing. It can't be forced. But it can be, it should be supported more. They should have the opportunity to go out and do it more, 100%.
Yeah, I think in that sense it is as well not just the brands, but also like snowboard crews and like being able to, like you said, it is sometimes a complicated social setting, but it is also just being more open to those things being mixed and not so exclusive, so that everyone has to separate and start their own thing. And I also think that like, yeah, as it comes to like the media and the submissions and maybe not necessarily knowing how to get into that, like just like an open invitation as well, and making it very clear like how to submit those things, and maybe also for female riders to know like you can write stories and you can submit those and you can go out and shoot stuff with your friends and make something out of that, and there will be a space for it. Also feel that there is space for that, and not just like, oh, why should we even try if it's not going to be published.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is that mentorship is really necessary, and that's a shared responsibility from all the agents within the industry to really mentor, to really, they always say create the path, but that's, I think, what we're trying to say here.
I was going to say, I do think us in this room right now, we are thinking inside of a big bubble as well. Like, how do we get everyone into this bubble? But we do live in a world where there is social media and Instagram. So I do believe there'll be a new path for the younger generation where they go out, they make their own stuff. They don't even listen to what we say here. Like, this could be completely irrelevant. Yeah. So I do think that like a lot of times we get stuck in our own world because we live in this world of our own community, our own retail, our own people. And we kind of stick here and like, how can we make it so it's easier for people to do exactly what we did 5-10 years ago? Where honestly, I think the opportunity now is that the female riders, the men riders, they can do whatever they want. They don't have to do what we're doing here. That's where the opportunity is, I see a lot.
Yes, but. So, of course, they will create their own path, and we need to create that or leave that blank space for them, the new generation, to do whatever. But we've, men traditionally have been in their own bubble, and decisions have been made for women by men.
Yep.
And this is why now having women with a voice at a higher level on board rooms and the bigger table, right? It makes sense, because then it creates that mentorship and that space, that blank space that is crafted for the new generations in a different way.
I totally agree with that. And I think that's what this new space will create, these opportunities, because us in our bubble will see people performing outside of our bubble, and they'll see like, oh shit, we have to follow these. This is the future. We have to follow them. We need to have people in place to go this route.
Yeah, I think traditionally the industry has had a lot of gatekeeping, and that comes in all sorts of forms, scholarships, and sizes, right? And us hanging on to that nostalgia is another form of gatekeeping, I believe. But what I'm hearing is like, we need to compromise. We need to make sure that there's this space. How do we do that? What's the next step? What can we do in the separate spaces to put that little bit of us into making sure that happens? Look at you, Manuela. You start.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to just share as much knowledge as I can on different platforms, and also person to person. In my immediate surrounding. And now, I mean, we got young riders coming up. It's like one of my training colleagues just had her first appearance on the Freeride World Tour. And yeah, we're trying to just, that knowledge, which took me ages to acquire, how to deal with contracts, with sponsors, with everything, with insurances, to share that I'm sharing it in informal manner, but there's also other friends trying to set it up in a formal way so that knowledge easily gets accessible. And then we have a democratic base, regardless of gender, to get into the sport and into the world we love so much and we want to share, which is natural. And you just got to make it a bit easier sometimes, I feel. And I think that's the work we can do.
I mean, when you have visibility, that's one thing, but from shops.
Well, I kind of think that kind of visibility is almost now starting to appear organically, because social media is giving those opportunities to other people, and it's not gatekept anywhere. So it's now starting to appear. We're now starting to see a lot more content. Again, going back to this like influx of younger riders creating content, and that's just going to grow and develop over the next few years as more and more content becomes available. So I think we'll finally see that kind of visibility grow a lot more organically.
So from the shop's perspective, what do you think you can do to make sure that stays?
Well, I think for us it's just basically supporting women riders, and I think that's all we can do. We have a very high percentage. We've probably got more female riders now on our team than we have males. So it's just us keep promoting that and keep creating the enthusiasm for women's snowboarding. I think that's literally all we can do at a retail level. But I think the growth is just going to come naturally because I think it's now an unstoppable train.
And for the data they were showing at the beginning of this, they're 30, 70%, there's a huge opportunity of growth. So that's,
Yeah, there is a huge opportunity of
bright.
growth. And again, this goes back to what we spoke about earlier, is like, I think we still have a very core market of snowboarder. The growth is kind of bringing in snowboarders that aren't core. And at the end of the day, they're the people that literally pay all our wages and pay our bills. So, there is a big growth opportunity there for the sport as well.
Daniela, you were saying that sometimes it just needs more time. You were referring to products, but how does that apply? Is that what a brand can do to make sure that this keeps going in the right way?
Yeah, right. It takes more time. I mean, often we launch a product, and if it doesn't perform after 2 seasons, we drop it. We should give it a bit more time. And I want to quickly talk about what you said, the bubble. We are definitely in a bubble, and you're right, Jeremy. What about the mainstream? And we have to grow the sport. So how do we do it with the visibility out there? I believe that we brands definitely need to invest way more beyond the bubble towards the mainstream to make the sport more accessible for both genders. So, but yeah, I think...
Yeah, so you want to grow it into mainstream, but at the beginning we were talking about authenticity and how that's key to promote women and keep it women. So how do we go into mainstream space but keep authentic?
No, it's basically we have to support all types of female snowboard riders, from the ones who do the contests to the ones who film video parts to the ones to support the shop girl who works at the shop. To make and then also like the Wayward project that just came out, the female project, stuff like that. Make videos that make stories that regular people get inspired by. Don't just show talent and show the coreness, but make stories that compel people to try snowboarding, try to live like snowboarders.
What I'm hearing is inclusivity all across the board.
And inclusivity, but also more of a focus on all levels of actually sticking with the path of going down women's products, women's projects, women's riders, and stick with it. Because then we will get that 30 up to 40 and eventually 50-50, hopefully. Because what cool thing is in China, so snowboarding in China is pretty new. It's 10 years old, 15 years old. And in China, the ratio is 50-50. For Nitro in China, it's 50-50. 50% women, 50% men products sold. And that's because they started from scratch. And it wasn't their dad who taught them how to snowboard. It was their friend went snowboarding, or their mom started snowboarding. So it'll get there. It will just take time.
Imagine 50-50. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
And maybe one more thing to add to make it accessible. Often it's also a cost question. So we need to have product which, is more, in a lower price point, entry level. And that's also kind of accessibility. I also believe that we need to have initiatives or projects to give kids a chance to try out snowboarding because they wouldn't have, because maybe they live far away or their parents can't afford it. And then once they're totally hooked. I mean, we have our chill programs for kids which don't have the chance to go snowboarding, and all of them after 6 weeks, they're hooked. They're snowboarders now. So things like that, let's be creative, but I believe it's on us, on the entire industry, to work on this and not just look at the bubble.
Yeah, and I think that also kind of feeds back into, for example, school programs. The Schulenskiwochen, like in German, you know that you also have offering for snowboarders, and now you support that basic level of coaching and teaching as well, but also offering tryout things and everything because they love it. As soon as you put them on a sliding board, like kids go off, they love it, and it's just they gotta need to try. Yeah?
Can I just add on that as well? We have a massive opportunity coming up in February with the Olympics, and this is probably the first time that the women's competition is arguably more interesting than the guys. So we're going to force snowboarding into people's homes and the mainstream, and it's how we take advantage of that opportunity. And I think
it's been for a long time. Come on, Jeremy. It's been more interesting for a long, long time.
But in terms of the visibility of it, it has. But this is really the first year that it's that's where the interest is in the sport. So it just seems to me to be a really good opportunity that we need to take full advantage of.
What's one thing that athletes need more of or less of?
Money. Get them more money.
On that note, I'd like to open the mic for any questions that we have for these people or any input that you'd like to add. Christine?
I have a question about going to Burton and Nitro. Just out of curiosity, do you have equal payment for pro riders at the moment?
Yes.
Amazing! Woo!
Of course.
We have everyone's getting paid different depending on your skill level and who you are. If that makes sense. Get in there. Just being honest.
It's quite nice that you talked about more shop girls, but what is with women in management positions, CEOs, in sales and marketing? How many are in your company? And is there an equal chance to get into? And are there not maybe sometimes a little bit hold down? It's just like...
Okay, I'll take this first. I mean,
Burton's done a good job at it.
We've done a good job. Thanks to Donna, owner of Burton Snowboards. We have a ratio 50-50 in leadership positions at Burton. And I see other brands really also having the same level by now. But to your point, hold down. What I know, often the women don't trust themselves with their confidence, and they don't ask for a position because they always think, I'm not ready. Please, girls out here and ladies, believe in you and just apply for these jobs because you can do it.
Yeah, you do have to ask. If you want to get something, you have to ask. Otherwise, you're never going to get it. I want to just quickly have a side note here that we have a brand new magazine in town, Meltdown Magazine, dedicated to women, made by women. So thank you for entering the chat. Well, on that note, thank you so much for making the space in a very, very busy trade show, and thank you for having us. Thank you.